I'm a mother and I tell everybody not to have children. I mean, I love my children. I would not change a thing. I also don't recommend having children.
Hi lovelies, you're welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda and here is Ballistic Gist. Don't forget to please subscribe, leave a thought in the comment section, and let's dive into today's video.
This is a genuine question from someone who has children. Why are mothers so triggered by people that don't want kids? I really need an answer. So if someone could respectfully let me know, that would be great.
I think it's because it stings some of us who have decided to be mothers when we think about what was the real reason why we wanted to be a mother. For many of us, it's because, at least for a person like me, it was because I sought identity. I sought identity that was acceptable, cared for, supported, and affirmed by the greater society. Because all the things that I was, in my mind, was not. I'm a child who grew up in significant childhood trauma and poverty, a person who had an absent father, a person who ended up in foster care and aged out, a person of color, a brown person, a brown girl. And to me, those identities weren't of any worth or any of value. So I thought, well, if I'm a mother, now I'm something to be proud of. Now I'm something that people will admire and people will respect and people will affirm. But when you get into the actual day-to-day life of being a mother and you realize how no one cares how you feel, when you realize how much work it is, when you realize how selfless you have to be, how self disappears, who you are as a person disappears, and the society doesn't value you, and you're not even sometimes valued in your own home, then you look back at those women or people who say they didn't want to have kids, and then you realize, those people had a sense of self. The identities and who they are as a person, they know. And they don't need to go and find an identity or find a label to put on themselves to be acceptable, because they're acceptable and okay just as they are. And when you're in the midst of it and you look at it, it stings. It stings because you realize you didn't have a sense of self. And remember, you can feel this way and still love being a mother. You can feel this way and still love your children very much. But there is a mourning and regret you feel about how you disregarded yourself, hoping to find an identity that would be accepted and affirmed by others, instead of realizing that who you are just as a human being, as a woman, as a person, is okay.
Child-free woman coming at you. I think there's a couple things at play here. Women are raised to accept that they will one day be a wife and mother, and that it is somehow our gift to the world. This is not my belief, but I have friends who truly do believe that they were meant to be mothers. I don't share that. I've never felt that. But socially, there is a pressure that you are expected to get married and have babies. That's just what you're supposed to do. So when women disobey this sisterhood, it's alarming to the women that participate in it, because many of them feel insecure and that it is an attack on them as opposed to motherhood as a whole, or just freedom for women to do what the fuck they want. And then I think for some mothers, not all, they get into the true experience of motherhood, postpartum, marriage with kids, etc., and realize this isn't really the dream that society sold me on. What's up with this? So while many mothers won't admit it in this case, I think some of this is also jealousy of women without kids, jealousy to rewrite the narrative, to relive their lives, to live a life that they want to live as opposed to a life that they're expected to live. If you enjoyed this child-free rant, I'm also a sex educator, so follow me for more hot takes on relationships and social expectations of women.
So as somebody with kids, I think from my perspective, the reason why sometimes parents can get annoyed and frustrated with people who don't have kids is that it's not just that they don't want kids, but they openly insinuate that you are miserable and hate your life because you have kids. There are people in the comment section of your video doing this. There was one person that said, "Misery loves company," in response to your question. Like, I personally could not give less of a shit about what anybody does with their lives, whether people choose to have kids or not. In fact, most of my friends don't have kids, and I don't care at all. However, a lot of my friends have no problem with just like openly shit talking me and the fact that I have kids right to my face. Like, one time I was on a video call with my best friend, and my son woke up and I had to go put him back to sleep, and I came back and my friend just directly to me nonchalantly was like, "I'm so glad I don't have kids. It seems like it would be awful." Don't say that to me. Keep that to yourself. One time I was at work and I managed this team of editors. There was like 5 or 6 people, and they got on the subject of talking about how horrible it would be to have kids and how miserable people with children would be. And they were just openly talking about this and laughing about it in front of me. And they all knew I had kids. And it doesn't feel good to be in a room of people just like openly insulting like a core part of your life. Like, I actually teared up. I think it's the unapologetic attitude that it would be so terrible to have kids and that you must be miserable because you have kids. That is the main issue that parents have with talking and interacting with childless people. Like, it's very insulting for somebody to just to your face insinuate that your life must suck and that you're a miserable person. And I don't think they even realize what they're doing, because like I said, some of my best friends in the world will just casually say this stuff to me. I don't think that it even crosses their mind that this would be hurtful to say to somebody. It's just such an invalidation to such a large part of your life and literal human beings that are a part of your family that you love. Are there weirdos that have kids that go around insinuating that childless people are miserable? Absolutely. Are there weirdos with kids that go around acting like if you don't have kids, your life isn't fulfilled? Absolutely. I totally see that, and that absolutely happens. But I'm not one of those people, and yet I constantly experience this. So in summary, I guess ultimately I don't feel like it's very in good faith to just say that parents are triggered by people that don't have kids because they don't have kids. I think it's more that a lot of them are very invalidating to people with kids and just insinuate that they're miserable, sad people, which is super insulting.
And here's a genuine answer for somebody who is a mother. It is because for millennia, the patriarchy and misogyny have said that women's only value lies in their ability to be a mother, a wife, and a homemaker. As such, if you are not checking one of those 3 boxes, you do not have any value. So women who are still laboring under that belief are flummoxed and flabbergasted when women make a stand and say, "I do not want to be a parent. I do not want to participate in motherhood," because in their mind, that woman has made a decision to lack value. We simply need to deprogram those women for them to understand that while I am a mother and I value that experience for me, that doesn't mean it needs to be a universal experience for all women. Some women do not want to have children, some women cannot have children, and some women, God knows, should not be mothers. So, I hope that helps.
Well, from my perspective as a woman that is openly child-free by choice, I actually get more hate from women that don't have kids but eventually want them. Some of my biggest supporters in my choice are mothers because they know what it's like to be a mom and what it entails, and so they can completely understand why someone would choose to not subject themselves to that. Don't get me wrong, there are some moms that are like, "This is the best thing ever, you're missing out, your life is a failure if you don't have them," but for the most part, moms support me the most. Obviously, other child-free by choice women support me too, but when it comes down to my biggest haters, it's women that want to eventually have kids but don't have them now because they just think, how could you not want that? It's the best thing ever, because they don't know yet. They don't know.
'Cause they're jealous. Yeah, it's jealousy. There are a lot of women in this world who have children because they are expected to have children, and because patriarchy and capitalism demand that women have children. You know. And so they have kids, but they don't actually like kids. And so that's why you end up seeing all these videos on this here app of parents just being emotionally abusive, but thinking it's funny. I'm like, oh, it's just a joke. It's not a joke. You don't actually like children. You don't like your children. Eventually, one day, your children are going to cut you off. And so when these women see other women who are actively choosing to not have children and not go down that emotional slip and slide, they're jealous.
I have kids. I love my child-free kids. In fact, I wanted to be child-free. So bear with me, because this response is coming from a place of like where I can see why people choose not to have children. I don't think it's so much that they are mad that other people won't have kids, but part of that, I think the women or the people that are angry, like, don't want to be alone. Like, misery loves company, so to speak, right? Like, motherhood is isolating. It's lonely. It can be very lonely. And it feels like we are experiencing things that people don't understand, and we want other people to understand, because women who don't have children don't seem to want to understand, but yet that's silly because they do. This is obviously why they're not having kids. So someone's listening to us. But more so, I really think to that point, it's the lack of the village. We embarked on motherhood thinking we would have support. We would have other people in our corner. We would have a way to enjoy motherhood and a safe space where our kids could learn from other people. But it seems like childless people, a lot of them don't really want anything to do with children. And I know for me, that's the frustrating thing, because my children need more than me. They need more than my husband. They need people who love and adore children and who are safe. There's so many unsafe people in the world. There are so many, like, when we meet a new person or a stranger or, whoever, we feel this sense of, oh my gosh, are you safe for my kid? Are you safe for my kid? So when we see other women who don't want kids, we think, man, like, you would be an awesome parent. You would be a safe place for kids to go. And I know for me, like, that's kind of the my resentment. I don't resent having kids, but I do resent not having a village. I do resent not being able to say to, an auntie or a friend or whoever, like, hey, can you hang out with my kids for a few hours? Like, people don't want to. And it sucks, because our kids need more than us. They need more than their school teachers. They need wise elders to see them, to hear them, to listen to their stories, to play with them, to teach them, to show them that there are other ways of being other than mom and dad, which is probably why our kids resent mom and dad, right? Because they think that we're withholding these people from them, and we're not. So those are my 2 cents. I don't know if this helps at all, but love you guys. Bye.
Hi, I'm a mom. I don't know if I'm necessarily triggered by people who don't want kids, but it definitely makes me more curious about them as a person. A lot of times that I have experienced people not wanting kids, it usually comes with a caveat or kind of like a side serving of childism. Childism is like the discrimination against children, like people who don't want to share an airplane, people who don't want to share a restaurant, who don't necessarily see children as people. When people say they don't want kids, I'm like, oh, do you see children as people and you just don't want kids? Or are you discriminating against an entire group of people? And depending on how that fleshes out, it can definitely make me make some judgments about a person. No hate to the child-free community. You guys are beautiful, living your life, know your worth, and that's wonderful. I think we just need to be conscious about how we speak about children, especially how we interact with them in public and allow them to take up space.
We're jealous. We want to sleep. This exhaustion, that's me trying to put a filter on this to cover it up. I'm so tired. I'm completely kidding, but like, there's nothing I support more than people who don't want to have kids not having kids. If you don't want to have kids, don't have kids. There's too many kids being raised by people that didn't actually want to have kids. Like, you do you.
Hey, beloved. I'm going to go as far as to say that the ones who are triggered by us, child-free people, I'm one of them, is because either their choice was ripped away from them to not have kids, or they weren't aware at all that they even had a choice in the matter. And to see other people making this choice that they were unaware of, or like I said, that choice was basically taken from them and they was told that they had to have kids. Yeah, that's why I feel like these mothers are triggered by people like myself. Because like I said, I am a child-free person, decided not to have kids a while ago. Mind you, I was one of the ones that was on the fence. Because I was like, do we really have to have them? Like, and granted, some of these women, like I said, that choice was taken away from them, either from their parents, because their parents drilled it in their heads. Oh, well, if you lay down and you get pregnant, you gonna have that baby. I don't care if we're in the era of abortion or not. Before, this is during abortion time. Before abortion, you know what I'm saying, you really didn't have a choice, but they still ingrained in them, you know what I'm saying, you have to have kids. But in the era of abortions and birth control and pills or whatnot, you mainly grew up around people who said, all right, well, if you get pregnant, you're going to have that baby. No ifs, ands, or buts. And like I said, sometimes that choice is taken away. So yeah, mainly it's the mothers who didn't have a choice in the matter. They had to become mothers because somebody told them, well, you have to have this child. You have to birth. You that's what you have to do. That's what you were put on this planet to do. And then to see later on in life, after they've given birth, and see women like myself, it's like, what? You weren't, what? Yeah. It can be a little triggering, and I get it. I totally get it. And I feel my heart goes out to those women. My heart goes out to those women, and my heart goes out to the kids of those women, because they're living a life that technically they didn't choose. And I feel it's really fucked up that we shame women like that. We shouldn't shame women like that, because there's too many of us walking around here that are mothers that really didn't want to be mothers to begin with. Like I said, because of those reasons I mentioned earlier. So yeah, there you have it, beloved. Have an awesome one.
I don't know. I'm a mother and I tell everybody not to have children. I mean, I love my children. I would not change a thing. I also don't recommend having children, now that I know what I know about having children. Never having a good night's sleep ever again. Never eating a warm meal. At least not for a good 13 years. No one knowing what your favorite things are, but you are expected to know theirs. And yes, that's selfish, but I am human. It would be nice to know that people knew what my favorite color is. Just saying. I would also like the ability to not fear the phone ringing. A ringing phone to a parent when their children aren't with them, worst sound in the world. So, if you have anxiety, heart conditions, a history of stroke, I don't recommend parenting. It will exacerbate those conditions. And if you aren't willing to put them first, well, don't do it. Only on planes that you take care of yourself first, folks. In life, you have to put your children first. I don't know why they're mad.
This made me laugh really hard because the amount of times I've been asked, when are you having kids? Oh my gosh, your husband will be the best dad in the world. Kids are just so amazing. They make your life so much better. And then after a while, they'd ask me, so when are you having kids? And I'd say, I don't know. I'm infertile. We've been struggling for a really long time. Then the conversation would change to, oh, just be grateful you're sleeping through the night. Kids are the worst. They ruin your marriage. You never have to do anything. You can have my kids if you want them.
Now, I can't speak for the people who are parents because I have chosen to be child free. But I was reading through some of the comments, and one thing that I did see was that women who have decided to have children are triggered by women such as myself who has decided not to have kids because they're jealous of our freedom. That's what I saw a mother say. But also, just from my own thoughts, I think that women forgot that they actually had a choice. You know, you grow up with this ingrained like process in your mind, right? Go to school, get a degree, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids. That has been like the American dream that has been sold to us. But you have a choice. You have a choice. And one thing that I would like to say is that a lot of people don't talk about the fact that most pregnancies are not planned or prepared for, especially financially, which makes it even harder. So I asked someone that's close to me who has kids, like, what is the benefit of having kids? And I'm not being sarcastic or cynical, but I wanted to hear from somebody that's a parent, what are the actual benefits of having a child other than procreation? I think it's beautiful. I love all of my mothers and people who have decided to have kids because, again, I wouldn't be here if my parents didn't have me. But also, a fun fact about me, my parents planned to have me. I was a planned pregnancy. My father asked my mother to have me. He proposed to her. She denied his proposal 3 times. And then on the 4th time, she was actually the one that proposed to him. So I have always came from a family of unconventional things, right? I do things my own way. And I don't let society pressure me in doing a goddamn thing. And what I will say is, if you ever see me pregnant, or if you ever see me bring a child into this world, you can bet on your life that I am a millionaire. Okay? Because I refuse to continue the cycle of poverty, bringing my child into this world, and I am not prepared for it. I'm just going with the flow because I took a pregnancy test and I'm like, we're pregnant. No. I feel like children should be planned for. You should prepare your life to have children, and most people don't. And that's probably what's the most triggering part about it.
So lovely. So I came across this video. I just decided to, put it up here so that we all can really get on this and actually share our thoughts on the said, topic of discussion. So this woman turned to internet to ask this question, towards child free by choice women, and also she directed the same question to women that have kids. So it seems that a lot of women with kids is somehow triggered by women that say they don't want to have kids, like they look at them in some type of way, in some type of, oh my god, you don't have any any stuff going around in your life. And most of all these women tend to think that bearing children and childhood, raising kids is just all about womanhood. And maybe because of what they've been taught, or maybe because of the societies and all of that, like a lot of women tend to say that bearing a child is something that a woman should do. And I wouldn't blame such women, because this is what we've been taught growing up. There's this issue of so many child free by choice women these days. A lot of women finding themselves a lot now decide that, okay, childbirth is something that is not meant for me, so it's best for me to just go for what meant for me, which is child free, and live my life to the fullest and probably do whatsoever I want. I know that raising kids and children and all of that is something that is draining. Like, it's something that you have to give your whole. It's something that you have to really, really think about if this is the kind of life you want to live for yourself. If this is what you want for yourself, because it takes a woman with a lot of patience and with a lot of dedication on what she actually wants out of her life to, bring in a child into this world, then raise the child and make this child to become something, in life. A lot of women have to put their life in pause in order to raise this human being. It's actually not easy to raise a human being. Talk more of raising this child from childhood to toddler, from toddler, to adulthood and all of that. And when the child is able to cater for him or herself is not easy. A lot of women have fallen so much into depression. To me, I will not criticize any woman that chose not to have a child, because it's better for a woman not to choose not to have a child than for a woman to have this child, then fall into depression and end up harming herself or even harming the child that she brought into this world. So it's best, if you want to be child free, you've thought about it, you could just go on with your life and enjoy your life to the fullest. And if you know that you're a woman, that you can actually deal with all the shenanigans of bringing in a child, you can actually dream, or deal with maybe wasting like 2 years to 3 to 4 years of your life raising a child till the child becomes somebody, depriving you of so many things, maybe going out with friends and all of that, because probably you might have friends that don't want children, and you, not because you have a child that you have to bring this child anywhere you are going to. There's a lot of people that have this thing, having children run around crying and all of that. Not everyone that can handle that mental capability to do such a thing. So to me, I will not discriminate anybody. I actually want to be child free. It's just a choice. It's a cause of what you can do and what you cannot do. So I think that a lot of women with kids seeing or getting triggered by women without kids, it has to do with maybe jealousy, or it has to do with, okay, so I am putting myself into this. Why, how dare she not go through what I'm going through? And sometimes most of all these women that are child free by choice tend not to understand. Maybe they'll have friends that's not child free. They tend not to understand what these people go through. And when this their friend that have babies sees this child free, they become a little bit of jealous, because these child free by choice women are able to go wherever they want to go. They will be able to go for vacations, go for meetings, parties, build their careers and all of that. Meanwhile, you as a woman that have a child, you are home taking care of your kid. Your career is still in the pause. You can't go anywhere. You're just taking care of the kids. You can't even party out with friends without maybe somebody calling you that, oh my God, your child is this and that. So I think it has to do with a little bit of jealousy and a little bit of, okay, what the society has imposed women to. Like, women are meant to go out to the world and multiply. I think something like that is also written in the Bible. It says that you should go out to the world and multiply. So the society has already subjected that women are meant to go out there and give birth to multiple children. So such women, when they see women that decide they don't want to have kids and all of it, they tend to call them selfish. They tend to like, okay, what God has given you the ability to bear these children. Why not you do your purpose as a woman? Like a woman, because a man can bear children. That means if you're a woman and you don't want to bear kids, that means you just want to be a man. You want to be a man, you want to take care of everything. So it's just the way the society has, projected it, and this made a lot of people to look into some type of way, and when these women that have given up everything, especially their career, their self, everything about them to raise a child, when they see people like this, they sometimes fall into depression. Sometimes they also want to go out. They want to like, oh my God, I want to leave this. I just want to be able to go out there. So sometimes again, they feel a little bit of jealous. That triggerness is not as, they just feel, okay, this should actually be me. If I'm not a mother, I could have been in this position. I could have time, running around like this other lady and all of that. And because of all those things, she feels some type of way. She feels that, okay, her life is just in a stamp. You're not moving forward. You're not going. You're just in a stand. Just wake up, take care of kids, wake up, take care of kids, take care of the house and all of that. So it makes them a little bit of angry. And when they see other people enjoying it, they get jealous and all of that. Anyways, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So why not just share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.